Long distance running takes an abundant amount of physical and mental training and takes a unique athlete to do it. Hi, my name's Andy Hine and I've been running competitively for a number of years now, and I've met some amazing people, but none were as driven, determined, or committed as Darl Sutherland is. He is placed on the podium in a number of major events and has raced internationally. During his prime time, he was considered one of the best marathon runners in Canada. But he didn't always start out on top. In fact, he started far from it.
More often than not, I was usually, I'd say, one of the last runners. So I've actually finished races where there's been 200 runners, and I would finish at 200th. So coming into, especially with high school, there's a lot more pressure. Running wasn't a popular sport from where I'm from in Bancroft. And one of the races where I came in last, they actually videotaped it, and during the athletic banquet, played it in front of the entire school, which was it was kind of a humiliating experience, as a lot of people, just one of those things where I was also bullied while going through high school. So I made the decision and went home that night. It happened to be the end of the school year, and decided I was going to train the entire summer. And when I returned, I was going to be the best runner in the school. I had no coaching knowledge or background. I just went and just started putting miles on the road, and from doing absolutely nothing, worked my way up to 5K, 8K, 10K, and did speed workouts that I made up completely on my own, not knowing what I was doing, hill workouts, basically anything I can kind of find that I thought would help me out. And when I came back 3 months later, I went from being, I would say, one of the last athletes in the race to one of the top athletes. So I became #1 in the school for the next 2 years. And even though I was still doing well on a high school level, like within my own school, still could never crack the top 10. And then from there, I decided to take the decision and enrolled into Fleming College. And from there, I got a coach, started training. I was training 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day, and learned how to swim. I didn't know how to swim before, which was a valuable part of my training background. And then things just started happening. After the first year, I placed 7th at Ontario's, and I was starting to get okay. I won my first race ever during that year, and then trained harder, more distance, more speed, and the next year came back and was 2nd in Ontario.
However, with highs, there must be lows. Injury as an athlete is inevitable, but what happens when life throws you a curveball? That's when your character is tested and a champion is either born or not.
I was attacked by a pit bull in 2003, and it shredded my Achilles tendon. And from there, I saw 3 or 4 different specialists, and they all said I would never run again, or never compete competitively. And I was bullheaded and decided I didn't want to give up. Ended up running into Kevin Hickey, who also works with the Petes and with the lacrosse team in Peterborough. And he's like, "I think I can fix you, come on in." And within a span of a couple weeks, I was up and again, and I was running marathons. Something that I found that the further I went, the stronger I got. So I did my first marathon in 1999 in Ottawa, and at that point I thought a marathon was 21 kilometers. So I showed up at the start line, and I was like, Boston qualifier, no problem, I can qualify for Boston. And at 21K, I looked at my watch, it's like, I can't believe anybody would struggle with qualifying for Boston. And I was like, "Where's the finish line?" to the next guy beside me, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, you have to do another 21 kilometers yet, it's 42 kilometers. And I just remember this feeling inside of my stomach, and just everything just dropped, and I was like, oh my God, my longest run at that point was 18K. So I just remember I had a friend who met me at 37 kilometers, and at that point my jaw was almost hanging off of the ground. And I'm still running and holding a decent pace, and he was just like, you need to run just a little bit faster, a little bit faster. And we made a deal, and I was like, I'll run a little bit faster if you can carry me off the finish line. And he learned very quickly that when I said something like that, that I was serious. And I picked it up and finished my first marathon in 2:48 at the National Capital Marathon, which was Canada's largest marathon, and qualified for my first Boston Marathon. And then that fall, went to New York. I ran the New York City Marathon, and then Boston the next year. And things were going well, but I was never getting those top times. Like I was always in around in mid to high 240s. And after the pit bull attack, I was forced to take a couple years off of marathoning, and had actually completely given up on the idea of running another marathon. And when the physiotherapist took me in, and I don't know how, but I was able to run normally again. My stride was getting quicker, faster, I was getting stronger, and every day was a new distance and a new PB. So when I signed up for Mississauga, and it's funny because I signed up to Mississauga and I wanted elite status, but they saw my previous times and saw I hadn't run a marathon in, I think it was 3 or 4 years, and they're like, well, so you're kind of an unknown, and you're not really, your times aren't shown with some of our top runners, so we can't give you elite status, which kind of burned my ass a little. And so I showed up the morning of, and I decided I was going to lead the marathon from start to finish, or medical, whichever came first. And I went out and I went through some of my fastest times through 10K. I ran my personal best for the half marathon, and then ran into what I would call a headwind, like running up against the wall for the last 10 miles, which slowed me a bit, but I still finished with 2 hours 31 minutes, which was really the marathon that helped propel me into other future marathons where I'd get more in terms of like elite status, and everybody started to realize who I was, and I started getting invites to other races. And with this time as well, unfortunately, Canada doesn't host an Olympic trials, and while my time was never fast enough to go to the Olympics, if we had hosted an Olympic trials, based on the American and international system, I would have qualified. So that was really, I guess, one of my bigger highlights of my career at that point.
Starting out as an unnatural runner and then pushing through agonizing injuries that would have stopped many other people, Darl Sutherland was not willing to give up, which proves that champions only need drive, determination, and the right mindset.
Well, I've always had the philosophy that, life's hard and nothing's easy. If you want something, it's not going to come to you. You're going to have to reach out there and take it. Whether it's you want to become a great athlete, or you want to, if you want to be an astronaut, a doctor, a teacher, whatever, it's not something that's going to be handed to you. If you want something, you're going to have to work hard for it. And that doesn't mean there's not going to be people there that'll help you along the way. There always is, whether it's a teacher or a coach, or somebody that helps you out financially to get you through those goals. You just have to commit. And if you're willing to commit and to take a chance, then I always believe anything's possible.
He's wobbling, he's weaving, he's in. Darl Sutherland has won the Cannon Mississauga Marathon.
What a dramatic finish for Darl Sutherland. He deserves the spoils of victory. Look at him there. Although he looks a little worse for wear, but I'm sure once he gets up, he is going to have a huge smile on his face.